Good morning, Story Trading VIPs. Hope you had a great weekend. As a reminder, this video is available exclusively live to our VIPs and through 12 p.m. Eastern. You can listen to the replay. If you're not a Story Trading member, you get this after the fact at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be posting on YouTube and Twitter. So make sure to hop on over to storytrading.com to upgrade and become a VIP. We also have our weekly meetup tonight at 9 p.m. On Zoom. Agenda to be announced. But first this morning, got a lot to talk about. First on the macro QQQ SPY, you can see we have a little bit of a pullback here after last week's tremendous action. So this is where I think we are. The story behind this trade, the story behind the macro. We have now made it through all of the major events. We made it through the last month's CPI, through the Fed meeting. We've made it through all the earnings reports. We walked you through that day by day with great commentary, and I think we pretty much nailed it. And I think now we are in a period of time where we're going to have stable markets. Listen to this. There's no FOMC meeting in August, number one. We have midterms coming up in November, number two. Another thing that Sanjay brought to our attention in the room this morning is that real-time CPI inflation tracking is suggesting perhaps almost flat month-over-month inflation for July, okay, which is going to be announced on August 10th. All right. And then you have the technicals, which I've been real-time. I think we called the bottom in risk assets in ARK-K some time ago based on technicals. And now between NASDAQ and Apple had their earnings. Let's take a look at Apple this morning. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Apple broke over the 200 DMA last week after earnings. Okay. So that's a key technical level that can keep the NASDAQ up, the QQQ. So at this point, I think we're in a position where we don't have to worry too much about the markets over the next month or so. Now, of course, that can change when we get our CPI number August 10th. So let's say we have at least 9 days here, I think, of relative stability. And the thing that I think is going to be really important here is, we've gone through a period since November of market liquidation where everything was selling off at the same time, where things would go in cycles, where sectors would sell off and people would buy certain sectors, and it would be like a game of hot potatoes since November. I think for the first time, really, well, since the risk assets bottom, but now even more so going into the next couple weeks to couple months, where you can really do stock picking, where stocks will trade on their own merits. They'll trade on their own fundamentals and catalysts and won't be under liquidation pressure from massive market moves. I think that's completely over for now. I'm not calling the bottom of this situation. We don't know until retrospectively, but for now, I think things are safe. So with that said, there's a bunch of news we're going to talk about. We got like 10 tickers here. I want to go over most of these tickers. We have event reactions and event anticipation movements going on. So the first one, which just came to the top of our list this morning, Celsius. Celsius is a VIP pick, CELH. Story Trading, we brought it to you first within our community last summer after I attended a FinTwit conference down there. Subsequently, we were pleased to find out that Mark Gomes was also very bullish on Celsius, so we invited Mark Gomes and Jonah Lupton for a discussion on Celsius about 8 months ago. We have that video up on YouTube, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/storytrading. So since then, this has been one of our top picks. It's been a core position for me. Now, unfortunately, personally, I sold covered calls on this, and I lose my shares at $90. They had huge news this morning. I'll cover it in a second, but I actually bought some trading shares, at least maybe even a longer term investment here at $99 and $96 since I lose my other shares at $90. And we'll see. Maybe I can get a pullback. But the news, PepsiCo, and this has always been the speculation out there, that especially Mark has been saying that they'll be bought by Coke or Pepsi eventually. So PepsiCo becomes an investor in Celsius, and they're also going to be using Pepsi's distribution network. I think it's like a $500 million or so investment, or $400 million. You can go look at the news. A little slow my Wi-Fi this morning. $550 million investment, along with leveraging the PepsiCo distribution network. Now, this chart. Now, I'm going to reach out to Red. Reminds me of CLFD that we just went through, right? this looks like a gigantic cup forming, and especially now at $97 in pre-market, it's trying to head for that cup, right, which would be 110, right, to complete that cup. This is not a typical cup. This is very deep, but you can get these deep cups when you have a macro sell-off. That's the same thing we had in CLFD. We had this really deep cup from $84, pretty much almost similar magnitude as we're seeing, right, that we saw with Celsius. And then you had this cup without handle breakout in CLFD, which is a huge winner for us. Another VIP pick at StoryTrading, which I've held through, sold some trading shares, but that's been spectacular for us. So can we get the same pattern in Celsius? Maybe. And if we get that same pattern in Celsius, imagine that cup completing at 110 and then a breakout beyond that. I think that may be possible. We'll collaborate today, get some opinions from other technicians. We'll get some opinions from fundamentalists, what this might be worth together in the community. And I think it is on. I think this is tradable today as well in terms of buying dips if you want to do day trading or something like that. So that's going to be a top focus for me this morning. And of course, we just talked about CLFD. They crushed earnings. We won. That was great. Awesome. Still a core position for us. So congratulations, Chris, Tarber, and StoryTrading for that. SIGA, this is interesting, man. This is where it pays attention to know your fundamentals and not just trade stocks only on technicals or only on catalysts, right? This is what we preach at StoryTrading, the 4 pillars: technicals, catalysts, sentiment, and fundamentals. I started looking into the fundamentals of this company July 21st. We had a show on this. We talked about it on July 21st. I said, is SIGA for real? Because it looks like monkeypox is now for real. There's lots of bad news coming out of monkeypox. And I said, you know what? SIGA might be for real. I noticed the news flow seemed legitimate. Now, when I looked at the fundamentals on SIGA, I shared this information in the rooms. I discovered that SIGA had a tremendous quarter. If you look at their press releases, you'll see they've gotten like $20 or $30 million worth of monkeypox orders in the last couple months, and that's what's been driving the stock. But if you go look at the last earnings and conference call, you'll see they did like over $100 million in revenue in the prior quarter before monkeypox. So what's that about, right? That's about smallpox. Their drug is actually approved to treat smallpox. And what's happening was the U.S. government was stockpiling their drug for smallpox just in case something happens in the future with smallpox. I guess they want to be ready after COVID. And then smallpox came, and then monkeypox came, and people started saying, oh, if it works for smallpox, it could maybe work for monkeypox. Now, what's interesting is they were making money hand over fist, especially the last couple of quarters, selling this smallpox drug. And they've been using that money to do special dividends and major buybacks. And I shared this chart. They've actually been doing buybacks for quite some time. This is a company that's very healthy, cash flow positive, strong balance sheet. So the fundamentals are very, very strong. And then since I knew that, I was not scared when this came out on Friday. FDA put a note out there and said, hey, SIGA's drug is not approved for monkeypox, but there are approved vaccines out there, or there is one approved vaccine. So that wasn't news to me. That was like, well, duh. Like, that's not why I'm in this. By the way, I was in this via short puts because those strong fundamentals gave me confidence of a support level here, right? That this is not really going to go below these technical support levels because of the strong fundamentals, right? So I didn't have the risk anyway that other people may have had with common shares. But when I saw that news, I was like, come on, this is BS. Everyone knows they're using this off label. Their earnings are going to be great. This is really the stock, you can argue, should have been trading here anyway because of the fundamentals. So I picked up this stock at like $15, $17. And I flipped it real quick for a profit on Friday. Now, maybe I should have kept it over the weekend, but that's fine. In this particular account, I have SIGA in. It's much lower risk. So the other thing I did was on the halts, when it reopened, I sold more puts. When the stock was down near 15, I sold more puts. So I'll be making money on these short puts. Now, SIGA has earnings on Thursday. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at that report. I think there's going to be positive commentary, some pushback from what the FDA said. Some momentum in terms of monkeypox, and maybe they'll remind people about the stockpiling that's been going on for smallpox, and maybe they'll have a special dividend. Maybe they'll announce more buybacks. So a lot of positive things potentially going on with SIGA, and we'll find out about that Thursday. Now, by the way, Rex, one of my favorite technicians, let me know, and I think he also posted on social media that after this bounce back, this very strong bounce back on Friday, he said this has become a supernova candidate and potentially can move into the 30s. So we'll continue collaborating on that. I'm not going to go long anyway. It's too risky for me on the long side. I'm happy selling puts on SIGA unless it like drops, another couple dollars at the open or something like that. Then I might step in. The other thing that we missed, BVNKF. This is actually the only stock, the only company that has a monkeypox approved vaccine, and no one's talked about it. Maybe because it's like it's listed in, I guess, Denmark. This is a I don't know what these are called with the F. I don't know if that's an ADR even. I think it works a little differently than ADR when they have this like F letter on it. But anyway, very few people talk about it. The volume is exceedingly low, very, very low. But despite that, the stock has doubled here in the last month. So that's another one to look at. Who knows? It might work out. This thing might be like Moderna. Who knows? It might go to a couple $100. I really don't know. I'm not playing it, but wanted to let you know about that opportunity. The other thing, SMR is a core position, not a huge position, but it's a convicted position in my IRA. This is a nuclear play. I've been talking about it for a long time, and every single day it's hitting new 52-week highs. I'm just putting this out there because of this gap this morning. There's been a few D-SPACs recently which have completely blown up. I don't have the names offhand as reference points, but the last week or so, it seems money has been coming back in. There's been like some IPOs as well, like some Chinese IPO that blew up. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on in the market right now. And maybe this is gearing up to be one of those crazy moves. Okay, I don't know. We'll see. I reached out to Rex to see if he has a comment on the chart. CTLP is another StoryTrading VIP pick. This one brought to you by Mark Gomes. He presented a couple weeks ago. I like the chart on this. It looks like it broke out of this resistance level, although volume's low, so it's always hard to tell on this ones. But I added more CTLP last week. Actually moved some of my, I think it was SIGA profits. No, it was CLFD profits. I moved some of my CLFD trading shares profits into CTLP last week. And this one, 200 DMA at 730, seems like a reasonable, or I would round it down to 7. It's a declining moving average, and you see some resistance at 7. So I'd say $7 seems like a reasonable target if markets continue being stable here for the next period. They have earnings Thursday, so this is very important. They're 3 quarters behind in the reporting, so this is going to be the Q4 report. I imagine there's going to be commentary on Q1, Q2, and that's really what's going to matter because those numbers from Q4 are going to be really, really behind. So let's see what those commentaries are, and maybe this can make a move to 6. I have some trading shares I picked up at 475, and if we get a stronger event anticipation move, which I suspect we very well could, if we get into the 550 to 6 range, right before earnings, I will probably take some off the table or sell more of the $5 covered calls, which we've been doing here on VTSI. I got DRIO back on the radar. I've been disappointed with this because they did not yet announce news that was supposed to really happen for them by the end of June. So we're expecting an announcement early July. I have this now here. I still have a tremendous amount of faith in management. I think they're credible, and I think it's just on a delay. But I'm putting it up here because probably this week we're going to get an announcement on when their earnings report will be, which maybe will be later this week or early next week based on history. So at this point, it's so close to the earnings report. Maybe even if they do have the news, it's probably at this point going to be something that's wrapped into the earnings report. Or at least we'll get an update on it. So this may be an earnings play for me. I'm putting this up on the radar. I think we could see event anticipation run on this right after they post when that earnings date will be, and maybe we'll get surprised any day with news anyway. CFVI. Actually bought some additional trading shares on CFVI this morning at 10:05. CFVI Rumble had big news on Saturday. I heard about this lawsuit peripherally, that it was some big lawsuit against Google. I didn't know the details, but what happened Saturday was there was a ruling from a judge that was in favor of Rumble to allow a proceeding to go forward with Google. And I was reading the story on it, and it looked quite significant, quite important. And Rumble tweeted it out a couple times. Now, coincidentally or not, the CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovski, finally got back to me. I've been in communication with him about setting up an interview with him. he finally got back to me, and we did schedule the interview for later this month. Now I forget the time, but we're in a week or two, maybe around 10 days, maybe August 14th it was. I forget. But anyway, we are going to put together some material today. Tweet, landing page, whatever. We'll make the live stream info will be on YouTube and Rumble. So we'll get that announced later today. So who knows? Maybe between this like Google lawsuit ruling in their favor, combined with the fact that they're ready to come out and be a little more promotional. Maybe there's other good news cooking, which is why I said, you know what? Let me pick up some extra trading shares at 10:05 this morning. So put that on watch. That was quite a big piece of news that, and if you click in here, you'll see it somewhere. It should be in here. Oh, wow. It didn't even make it in the news feed. That's good. Maybe there'll be a press release about it. So we got this from the Twitter feed, the Rumble Twitter feed. So maybe that's why it's only 10:05. And who knows? That may present an opportunity. Maybe we'll get a press release from the company, or we'll get Benzinga reporting on it later this morning. So CFVI on watch there. All right, got a couple more. TXMD, been monitoring peripherally. I know there's interest in the community on this one. They had some news this morning that they got some financing, which they really needed after the shareholders turned down the buyout at $10. The stock went all the way to below $5. Now it's been bouncing back. So they got some financing to keep them in business, a $15 million equity investment. Plus, they delayed the maturity of some debt that they were due, but that came with a lot of dilution with preferred shares and warrants. So I don't know. I don't like seeing deals like that with all of this dilution. I'm not in it. I'm not playing it, but I know people are in our community. So I wanted to put that out there to keep you informed on TXMD. And who knows, it could potentially be a great trade if you get a good entry, but not for me. Tough Built TBLT. I don't own this, but someone I follow on social media did post some news on it. I got interested. I looked at it. I noticed some people in our community did talk about Tough Built in the past. So we'll see if there's more interest on it. But they've had a flurry of news. Last week, they had an agreement with Ace Hardware. Today, they announced an agreement with, announced it has started to sell. It's easy to sell, but I don't know. People love the news. Amazon Italy and Amazon Germany. That's part of the reason I'm not like jumping onto this. I don't know the story. If I knew the story well, if I knew the fundamentals, maybe this is a huge inflection point for the company. Very possible it is, but it's not something we track closely. If you know the fundamentals, if you follow this, if you think it's a good opportunity, maybe together with this catalyst today and the technicals, it makes sense to trade this. So bring that to our attention. If you're familiar with TBA together. A couple other things I'm looking at. Square, I started a position last week. Not a big position because this is not exactly the same MasterCard Visa. Their business model is different. They have exposure to different areas, which are more prone of recession. MasterCard and Visa, inflation is great for them because of their business model. That was never a concern for me, and they blew it out of the water, right? Because they get a percentage transaction fee, and inflation means things cost more. The worry never was that people aren't spending. The worry is what are they spending on, right? Do they have consumer discretionary income left after they spend their money on food and gasoline? Well, guess what? Food and gasoline is still charged on a credit card. So that was no surprise that MasterCard and Visa blew it out of the water. So Square has, some business with transactions, some amount of business, but they also have, part of their business, a lot of it may be like more like Shopify, like e-commerce platform. So we'll have to see what happens there, but I thought it was worth taking a small position. This was one of my core stocks back in the past, which I bought at $25 and sold it at 100, but I missed that huge move up. So I was like, you know what? Bought it at 25, sold it at 100. Let me get back at 75, tiptoe back in, and maybe keep this for earnings, which are Thursday, I believe, after the close. That's Square Thursday after the close. I think VTSI, by the way, I don't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday after the close, August 2nd. Oh, August 2nd. August 2nd's tomorrow. Oh, wow. I thought it was later in the week. So VTSI, August 2nd. Good thing I checked. That's just tomorrow after the close. So if you want to take advantage of any event anticipation runs, today and tomorrow is where you'd want to take some of your trading shares off the table or sell those covered calls, just in case we don't hear good news on the earnings report. And then, we got our favorites, Plab, Air, Rel, all great companies. We'll be continuing to see, hopefully, continuation on those. IPIA I wanted to bring up because this is the second stock on my Trade of the Week picks, official Story Trading Trade of the Week picks for the Wolf Spaces show, which is tonight, Monday night at 6 p.m. Maybe we're going to win this because of Clearfield. We'll see. So we have Clearfield up huge. We have IPA up modestly since we picked it. That's going up against ENPH, which is currently in the lead, but it's down this morning. So it's a possibility we're going to win this competition tonight. And hopefully if we win, we'll be first to give our picks this morning. I don't know what they'll be yet. We will let you know what the 2 Story Trading picks will be for the Wolf Financial Spaces show tonight at 6 p.m. And then we'll see you at 9 p.m. on Zoom tonight. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Definitely when this goes out on social media, Twitter, YouTube at 4 p.m., we appreciate your likes and your shares. And again, if you're not yet a VIP member, you get to listen to this live and exclusively through 12 p.m. Eastern by signing up at StoryTrading.com. Everyone have a great day. Good luck.